Yeah, because it just.
Are you ready, Gary? You got us all hooked up and juiced up here?
Hit it.
Well, welcome everyone. My name's Troy. I think you all know me. We don't have our name tags on tonight. That's my bad. I just forgot to grab them, but it's alright. If you meet someone you don't know their name, great opportunity to introduce yourself. Right? Find out. So tonight we have a very special guest. You all probably know her. This is Andrea Twitchell. Very excited to announce her and to have her present tonight. And she has a fantastic pink drink. That's awesome. Love the Kave bar here and all of our fun drinks that we get to have too. So, and yeah, you guys know Andrea, but she's someone who's been a friend of mine and a mentor and a spiritual guide, and I've even had the privilege of having some body work from her, which is fantastic. Highly recommend. So everything from the physical to the mental and the emotional, she's helped me to grow and challenge myself, and had the privilege of watching her grow too. We've been kind of doing this thing now for a few years, and I think we've both become different people over the last several years. We've been on these interesting journeys with these fun fungi and friends, and Andrew's had some really interesting events that have happened in her life lately, some cool things she's been gotten to be a part of. And so she's going to come and share a little bit about that. So that, Medicine Way, and whatever else she has to share with us tonight. So yeah, I'm excited. Thanks, Andrea. Welcome.
Hello. I don't feel too nervous tonight. Like we've got a nice little intimate crowd with, I think, just about, I know everybody this evening, I feel like. Tonight I'm going to do a little bit more reading. In the past I do a little bit more impromptu and just kind of roll with it. But I've set up my computer and the TV, so if anybody wants to move a little bit closer over this way, I'm actually going to share just some pictures and Instagram posts and just some things like that, a little bit more visual tonight to share a little bit with my storytelling. So thank you all for bearing with me this evening as I continue to grow and learn and express myself in hopefully a more fluid and mindful and meaningful way. So speaking of which, as you all know, I'd like us to kind of get it into a little bit more coherence. And with that being said, everybody go ahead and make yourself a little bit more comfortable in your chairs, get a little bit more present in our bodies, connecting to our breath. So everyone can just wiggle the bottom of your toes, feel the bottoms of your feet on Mother Earth. Yep, everybody take a nice deep breath in through the nose. Yeah, connect to your breath, connect to spirit, feel your body, let it go. Everybody take another nice deep breath in through the nose. Take it all the way to the top and hold it if you can. Settle into your body, feel your low back, your hips sitting on the chair. Feel your back of the chair. Again, bring the energy down to the bottom of your feet. Everybody take another nice deep breath in through the nose. Fill yourself all the way up as much as you can. Hold it at the top if you can. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. I just want to thank the great creator, Mother Earth and Father Sky, for this beautiful opportunity to come together in community and talk about the sacredness of our plant medicine teachers and my experience as an Indigenous woman here working in the region of my ancestors here in the Southwest. I want to give thanks also to my whole and healed ancestors for guiding me, protecting me, continuing to teach me and heal me. And I also want to honor the peoples of this land that we all reside and walk on, to the Tohono O'odham, the Gila River, Salt River, even the Yavapai, the Hopi, Apache. Yes, I'm so grateful to the ancestors of this land and for the wisdom that this land also holds. And I'm so grateful for the opportunity to live in what I perceived, especially as a young child, this oasis in the desert. And I also want to give thanks to the rain, this moisture at this time of year. speaks to the imbalance of Mother Earth and Father Sky, but also gratitude and the moisture that is so much needed here in the desert and in the Southwest. And I also want to thank all our other relations, our winged animals, our furry animals, the creepy crawlies, and everything in between. I just want to give thanks. And tonight also, if we could just take a few moments to honor, today is May 5th, which is also the day that we recognize the murdered and missing Indigenous women and girls. So I just want to take a few moments of silence to honor my sisters, my cousins, my aunts, my grandmothers that are missing, and just hold them in our hearts and their families. Thank you, great Creator. Thank you, Spirit, for this opportunity. Aho. Oh my goodness. Yes, so as most of you already know too, I'm an emotional being. And it's my way of connecting to my heart space and hopefully connecting to your heart space as well. So tonight, if you didn't already read a little bit of the description and what today's talk is about, I was recently invited to attend a psychedelic conference offered by the Chacruna Institute, and they're located in San Francisco, California, here in this part of the globe, but also connected directly down to Brazil, where the founder, Bia Labate, is from. And so with this in mind, I wanted to share a little bit about what the Chacruna Institute is and what I learned and experienced at the psychedelic conference that was here at the end of March in 2025. So for those unfamiliar with the Chacruna Institute for Psychedelic Plant Medicines, it's a leading organization dedicated to promoting indigenous reciprocity, psychedelic justice, and scientific research while amplifying the voices of traditional medicine keepers. Their work bridges indigenous knowledge with modern psychedelic discourse, advocating for policies that protect sacred traditions and communities who have preserved them for generations. So with that being said, some of the initiatives for the Chacruna Institute, I have a list here, and I'll explain a little bit of them as I go down what this institution is really about and why it's been really important to me in my work. Well, the first one is the Indigenous Reciprocity Initiative. This is a groundbreaking program launched to directly support indigenous communities who have stewarded sacred plant medicines like ayahuasca, wachuma, peyote, and psilocybin. The Indigenous Reciprocity Initiative creates pathways for individuals and organizations in the psychedelic space to give back financially and ethically to the original knowledge keepers through vetted grassroots projects across the Americas. To me, that's really what spoke to me particularly about this institution, is that it's really about making sure that we're honoring a lot of where these medicine keepers have been holding on to these traditions and medicines for thousands of years, and making sure that we're not just colonizing the medicine to benefit our Western imbalances, that we are making sure that we're giving back to these communities who have been the stewards and the keepers of these ancient wisdom, medicine, and keepers. The other is also women and gender diversity and sexual minorities in psychedelics. The beautiful part of this conference, one of the beautiful parts of this conference was the high inclusion of the LGBTQ community, and that this is really a large part of the initiative by Bia herself, also being LGBTQ, that there was a lot of inclusion with other diverse and minority populations, not just indigenous peoples. Another initiative by the Chacruna Institute is a psychedelic justice and policy reform, advocating for equitable access to psychedelic therapies and decriminalization policies that account for racial and social justice, particularly focusing on communities historically harmed by the war on drugs. So this was actually my entry point into the Chacruna Institute. Actually have a very lovely friend and member of the community here who donated the time for me to participate in a training program that was specifically for entheogenic churches. And it gave me the opportunity to make sure that as I was forming the Medicine Way, my nonprofit entheogenic church, that I was also kind of in alignment with the legal practices and perspective of here in the U.S. And so it was my honor to be able to participate with this training and make sure that I was kind of hitting the main points of am I falling within the scope of this religious community in the eyes of the federal government. And this was actually one of the wonderful offerings from Chacruna is a lot of training and not necessarily certificate programs, but a lot of well-educated and informed practitioners and educators offer their time to the Chacruna Institute to make sure that people like us are staying informed of the legalities of clinical research all across the board, not with just indigenous communities, but for common knowledge as well. So with that, it was also my lawyer and the Arizona Psychedelic Society's lawyer, Ty Garrett, who actually introduced me, and we did kind of a conference call with the lawyer for the Chacruna Institute. And that's when I was able to meet Bia and was invited to the conference, was really with the initiation of attending that first certification or that training program around entheogenic churches, and then just continued to evolve into this relationship. Another initiative is Sacred Plant Alliance, a collaborative initiative aimed at protecting cultural and ecological sustainability of sacred plants such as ayahuasca, iboga, and peyote, their education, policy, advocacy, and cross-cultural dialogue. So with Sacred Plant Alliance, it really actually speaks to the panel that I was invited to be on, and I'll speak more specifically about the panel, the people that I was on the panel with and some of their work. But just the collaborative component of working with indigenous populations, but also working with Western models of health and wellness using these plant medicines here in the States as well. Another initiative is the Chacruna Chronicles and Academic Publish, producing in-depth articles, interviews, and thought leadership, bridging psychedelic science with cultural commentary, especially from underrepresented voices. They also host, as we're sharing tonight, conferences and events, groundbreaking gatherings like the Psychedelic Cultural Conference and Women in Psychedelics Forum, intentionally curating spaces that blend clinical, cultural, indigenous, and spiritual perspectives. Another initiative is their education and public awareness, which I feel like I've already been speaking on. So free online events, panels, newsletters that inform the public about the cultural context, legal landscape, and ethical considerations of psychedelics. Another is psychedelic therapy and cultural competency, which is really how I love identifying with this community in particular, is cultural competency, that's part of their aim, is educating us Westerners more about ethical implications on cultural appropriation and honoring these medicines and the people that they come from. So they provide resources and frameworks to support clinicians and facilitators in working respectfully with diverse populations and Indigenous informed models of healing, which really speaks to the alignment of the medicine way. And really what the medicine way is about are all these things that Chacruna is doing. So I felt really honored and blessed to be a part of this international group of forethinkers and trailblazers in the work that we're doing here with plant medicines, not only in the US, but in South and Central America, and then also globally, right? Like people around the world are coming to South and Central America to work with ayahuasca particularly. So the Psychedelic Culture Conference of 2025 was hosted by the Chacruna Institute for the Psychedelic Plant Medicines. It was created as a gathering place for diverse voices across the global psychedelic ecosystem since 2015. Its core intention was to explore the social, cultural, political, and spiritual dimensions of psychedelics beyond science and clinical research alone, bringing together Indigenous leaders, scholars, therapists, activists, and community organizers. The conference focused on themes of justice, reciprocity, integration, cultural preservation, and the future of psychedelic movements. It was an honor to sit in some of these lectures with leading researchers such as Sue Sicily. Was also able to sit in on the talk with Rick Doblin. And I really liked his closing statements on where he would like to see psychedelics going, and I feel like the medicine way is in alignment with how he'd like, or where he'd like to see the movement going. And he described and talked about opening up, like having the diversity of these plants and being able to really even prescribe to individuals or groups what types of these medicines would be beneficial for the work that you're doing. And that's what we're doing here at the Medicine Way by offering a variety of plant medicines, knowing that each one of them work with us in a different way, and not one plant medicine is meant for everybody either. So we don't really know that until we've been able to explore what these diverse plant medicines have to offer. But that's where he's hoping that, you know, the plant medicine world is going to open up to, that it's not going to be just psilocybin or just ayahuasca, that we will be able to have access to the variety of medicines, but also knowing how to offer them in a more mindful and harm-reduced ways. I also had the great honor of actually sharing space with Dr. Joe Tafur. I don't know if some of you are familiar with, actually he's a local MD here in the Phoenix Valley, and he wrote a book. What's the name of the book?
The River, what's it, what's it called?
I know, I can't think of it. Something Rivers.
Yeah, it's something in the river, something with the river, I don't remember the name. I read it.
I read it too, it's been a while, and I wish I could have been a little bit more informed. But he recently wrote a book several years ago about his work as his training and his education as an MD in California, but he started going down to Colombia and healing with ayahuasca. And this is almost what I would consider close to an ethnography, and sharing his experience as an MD and witnessing people's healing mentally, emotionally, and physically with the aid of ayahuasca, and so also bringing that into his MD practice. So I got to talk with him because he's also, if some of you know, he's also one of the co-founders for the Eagle and the Condor Church that just won their lawsuit against the federal government. So we got to chit-chat a little bit about that and the challenges, and also the way that is paving for, especially Indigenous practitioners such as myself, advocating for our ability and our rights as Indigenous medicine carriers to serve this medicine. For me, without such strict and tight regulations, I start to get a little concerned about the commodification of this medicine, strict clinical use, reducing the access to certain populations, Also the extreme cost of sitting in some of these medicines, like having to fly to Oregon, having to fly to Colorado, or even out of the country to access some of these medicines. Who can really afford that, right? And most of us that are really marginalized are a little bit more on the lower end of the socioeconomic strata, and just being able to afford a counseling session, is already too much. Let alone maybe some body work or massage. Let alone, $2,000-$4,000 for one ceremony that some of these clinics are charging people.
The book was The Fellowship of the River.
Yep, The Fellowship of the River.
Thanks, Gary. You looked it up.
Thank you, The Fellowship of the River. But also, he has a second book coming out. So if anybody is already linked up with Dr. Joe Toffer, and I'll move over here because I have his website up. Want to do a little bit more like visual aid instead of like reading to you. That's not very fun. For Dr. Dota, for his program is called Modern Spirit, and I have it here on the screen here. And he offers quite a bit of research and retreats and stuff. And so hopefully later on in the year, I was looking to apply for his experiential ayahuasca and Yopo retreat for healthcare providers. So he invited me to apply for the program, and we actually have an intake call tomorrow morning to talk a little bit more about what that looks like. As most of you know, I'm an advocate of healers healing, and it's important for us who are out serving medicine or serving the community in general that we are also doing our own work, and I put that as a priority for myself and for the safety of my community members, to make sure that I too am doing my own healing work, and I'm not just talking the talk but walking the walk. So let's see. Yeah, it was amazing to meet these really upstanding community members. For me, the funnest part was, I'll go to my own Instagram page because I created a post. We're really kind of meeting certain individuals and being a part of these really amazing, diverse groups of people. One of the actual experientials that they offered was a Hape circle. And so here I am with a Hunikun traditional leader who actually is educated. His father, his family actually asked him or requested of him that he go and get educated. So he speaks his own traditional language, and he also speaks Portuguese, and that's his interpreter standing there next to him. And after experiencing his Hape circle, and the Hunikun are, and this is what I've learned for myself, are the ones that really emphasize the Hape. And what I also learned was, because I've been curious about, okay, why is it called Rape or Hape? I was like, what's the difference? And people will ask me too. And like, I got to spend time with another Portuguese interpreter, and she was explaining to me that, in Portuguese, that's how they pronounce the Rape, is actually Hape in Portuguese. And the Rape comes from the Spanish language and the Spanish tradition. So that's where the difference comes in, from the Rape and the Hape. Same thing, but one is Portuguese and one is Spanish. So that was something that I was grateful to learn. And I also learned that I'm quite a caregiver when I give my Hape. I spend a lot of time with individuals helping to move and purge energy, where the way they serve Hape was get in line, stand up, take it like a champ, and then hopefully you can make it back to your seat. And I will tell you, one person did not. We had to bring the seat to her. It was a really large group of people, and I just wanted to, as I was speaking previously, I really liked it's important to me, and it's a huge value of mine to try and be in integrity with this medicine as much as possible. And I really appreciated being a part of this Indigenous circle and working with a beautiful Indigenous leader, and seeing that, you know, am I working with this medicine in the right way? And do I have a healthy relationship with this medicine? And we're laughing and joking because I've been also practicing different types of blows, but what I didn't know was that the different blows are also associated with different animals. And he said one of the real powerful, strong blows is the jaguar medicine, is the jaguar blow. And so we're joking around right here, and he asked if I'd ever had hot pain. I'm like, oh yeah, I've had. He's like, okay, so you're gonna get the jaguar blow, right? And I'm like, no, not really. Like, I think I'm good on the jaguar blow, but you know, if you know that's what shows up, then that's what shows up. See. So that was one of the fun experientials that I had, and also another beautiful experiential was with this very beautiful woman, Claudia Suentes. I wish this was a better, oh, there's a little bit. She is Peruvian. This was a performance that she did on stage at the end of the second night at the conference. But on the third day of the conference, she held, and Erica Gagnon, held a sound bath, a Peruvian sound bath. And wow, what a beautiful experience to listen to this woman sing and pound her feet on the floor as part of the experiential. I think this is the one that doesn't have the sound, yeah. The sound isn't coming from her page for some reason, otherwise I'd love for you to hear her song and the flutes that she played, and the prayers and the blessings that were given to us while we all laid on the floor for this amazing Peruvian sound bath. And what I adore about this woman is she was just so warm and so inviting. She didn't even know me, and immediately she just grabbed my hand. She's like, you have to come to Oregon. You've got to come to my clinic. And her clinic being the Cora Center. This is a licensed psilocybin service center fostering community and well-being. Cora Center holds curated group and individual psilocybin journeys and training practicums designed for speakers, learners, and journeyers who desire support on their healing paths. We become journeyers of all races, backgrounds, and creeds. Yeah, the way we just really kind of resonated, her and I, just kind of real kindred spirits, and she invited me to come up to Oregon to see how she's running her clinic. That she has been integrating her Peruvian heritage, which is where she's from, with her own sound medicine, and bringing them into ceremony here in a clinical setting with her clinical degree and background. What a beautiful experience and opportunity to really step into a mentorship that I've really been looking for a long time. Who's doing Indigenous work with plant medicines at a clinical level that can kind of help showing me the way. So when I met her, I was very honored, very proud that she invited me up to her clinic, and I look forward to the day that I can make it there and continue to keep learning. Let's see. So with that, yeah, the experientials, the Hape Circle, and then the beautiful sound medicine. Oh, it was Erica Gagnon. If any of you have watched the How to Change Your Mind first episode right at the beginning, Erica was at the beginning serving what I came to find out. Did I put it in this one? When I was talking with her, because as soon as I saw her, I was completely enamored. I was like, oh my gosh, I just love this woman. And right away we connected as well. And I thought she was serving in that first episode was hape, when in fact it was actually liquid tobacco. Liquid tobacco. Did any of you already know that? Yeah, and actually she was surprised when I gave her that feedback. She was like, "You thought it was hape?" And I was like, "Yeah, we all thought it was hape." And she was like, "I didn't know that." She was like, "It's liquid tobacco." And of course I wanted to ask her, "Oh, well, what's liquid tobacco?" You know, but that's her process. That's what she's been learning for herself. So she's not going to give away trade secrets. But I wanted to know more because here I thought it was hape that was in the syringe, but it isn't. So I followed her around and Claudia around most of the weekend, kind of being a little sister. Can I help you carry this? Can I help you carry that? And I loved watching this women. They had a stage for all of their medicine instruments and huge condor eagles that they kept in these art tube cases. Okay, and I've just always been wondering, like, how do medicine people carry their very sacred tools? I'm constantly kind of struggling, like, how to make sure I'm carrying my tools in a sacred and safe way so things aren't getting broken. And so it was very beautiful to watch these two very seasoned medicine women like pack up their tools and pack up their altar and to see their most sacred items. It was just, I felt like a little sister, and I just couldn't get enough like spending time with them. And so I've been personally working on trying to cultivate a little bit of a relationship with each of them so that I can continue to hopefully keep finding some mentorship with the work that I do. Let's see. So last part of what I wanted to share was really more specifically about the panel that I was on. The title of the panel was called Relationships Between Land and Peoples, Indigenous Perspectives, Bioconservation, and Allyship. That was the title of my panel. I'm like, how did I fit in there? I don't know, just squeeze me in anywhere, I'm good. So the description is, climate change and the globalization of plant medicines have had significant impacts on both ecosystems and indigenous peoples who are working to steward their land and cultural heritage. Over the last few decades, plant medicines and the indigenous communities that work with them have faced several threats, including climate change, land privatization, and growing global demand for psychedelics. What does the meeting of northern and southern medicines look like in this time of intensified climate and geopolitical chaos? What are current threats and hopes for the Amazon and the climate? How can plant medicine support frontline activist leaders in personal healing and strengthening activist organizations? And how can those in the global north decolonize our healing, move in solidarity with indigenous peoples, and support conservation efforts? That's us. We're considered the global north. Although, me and another sister of mine who's from Alaska were like, whoa, you're roping us into the global north, which wasn't really like a positive commentary. Let's see, and this panel will include perspectives from indigenous folks and allies working to support healing, conservation, and frontline activism to defend land and communities. So there were 3 tracks with ongoing panels and discussions, and it was really hard to spend time at any one of these particular topics and discussions because there were 3 going on at the same time, and having to pick and choose where to be was really conflicting. But this was a great lecture, and I just wanted to share a little bit of the people that I shared this space with. So the first one is Denali, and this is the sister that I'm speaking of. She's from Alaska, and she's actually Athabascan. And Athabascans, Navajos, Apaches, and a couple other tribes are related. Some of it is by the language stock, but you can tell that we come from the same origins, really kind of traced all the way back to Mongolia. So as soon as her and I saw each other in the crowd, we instantly connected and ended up spending the day together. And it just so happens that her village is right down the river from my stepmother's village. My stepmother is at the Baskin, and she is from Galena, which is a very remote village off of the Yukon River, and she happens to know my stepmother's family as well, as we know these are very small and intimate communities. So I felt very privileged and honored to have a sister on stage with me. We connected very deeply. And then there was Joshua. Let me see a little bit more information about Joshua. He was a social movement facilitator and has trained thousands of activists across the globe. He was the executive director of the Wildfire Project, where he supported progressive grassroots frontline organizations and supported campaigns to defend land, water, and workers' rights. Joshua has spent the last 12 years building a Shipibo ayahuasca practice of dietas in the Peruvian Amazon and is a somatic leadership coach and psychedelic integration counselor. And these two amazing women, they already know each other. They've been a part of the Chacruna Institute for quite a while, and I was very honored to be sitting on stage with these very amazing women who are doing work at a global level. Leila Salazar Lopez, who is the executive director of Amazon Watch, an organization that works to protect and defend the Amazon rainforest and climate in solidarity with Indigenous peoples. Over the course of her multi-decade career, Leila has worked to defend the world's rainforests, human rights, and climate through international solidarity and advocacy campaigns at Amazon Watch, Global Exchange, and Rainforest Action Network. The other woman that I was very blessed to meet, she was just learning English, but preferred to speak Spanish, although Spanish is her second language. Lucia Fernanda Belford Salas is a member of the Kangan Indigenous people of the south of Brazil. So the Kangan is her tribe, where she's from, and that's the language that she speaks. She is a lawyer with a master's degree in traditional knowledge and genetic resources. And she has been an environmentalist and a defender of Indigenous peoples' human rights for over 2 decades. She has advised the president of Brazil's National Foundation of Indigenous Peoples and is founding member of the Brazilian Indigenous Institute for Intellectual Property. She's doing work at the UN level, especially around intellectual property, Indigenous intellectual property, and bringing that really to the forefront at a global level with the UN. Amazing woman, and she really described that she didn't want to be a lawyer. It was actually the calling of her tribe that they told her she was going to be a lawyer because they need her. And so they sent her to school, and that's what she did, and that's how she's become an advocate of not just Indigenous people, her Indigenous people there in Brazil, but globally at this point. And then, of course, myself and Ben Collins, the moderator. This kind of brings me a little bit closer to the end of my presentation. And most of you know who I am and the work that I do, but just kind of circling back to the beginning of my values being in alignment with Chacruna, in that, you know, I think it's important to keep learning and identifying ways that we're all Indigenous, that we're all healing, and that we're all healers in some kind of way. And some of the initiatives that, you know, I have for the Medicine Way is bringing some other Indigenous practitioners here to the Valley, some connections that I made at Chacruna, particularly around ayahuasca with a couple different tribal members. One, the Shipibo lineage, and the other is the Hunikun lineage. And this group in particular has offered to bring their medicine to the Valley in support of, or in collaboration with the Medicine Way. Another upcoming adventure that I would love to see for the community as well is also going down to the Bufo Sanctuary of a dear friend and colleague of mine, from where I receive also my my safe and sancted medicine, where hopefully maybe we can catch the rainy season and actually learn how to mindfully and thoughtfully and wholeheartedly learn how to extract some of the medicine from the Sonoran toad frog at this particular sanctuary. And with my friend Michael, he also works closely with the Seri tribe and bringing individuals to the Seri reservation as well and experiencing medicine on their sacred Tiberian island, but also including sweat lodge, other medicines such as changa, and him and I have already been in talks about when we can make this happen, probably a little bit later in the summer when it's monsoon season. So those are just a couple initiatives that I'm excited to start working on with my group of people and start offering some different indigenous ways of connecting with the medicine and hopefully with our higher selves and our own ancestors and what that looks like. Let's see, anything else I have for today? Yes, just a little bit. I think I just have some announcements for the Arizona Psychedelic Society and for the Medicine Way. Thank you all for joining us this evening here at Meraki and giving me time and space to share about the Chacruna Institute, its initiatives, how that's in resonance and alignment with the work that I do and offer the community through the Medicine Way. As some of you notice, I have what's completely donation-based for the Medicine Way. The money does not go into my pocket, it goes back into the community as also part of a reciprocity program for the Medicine Way that it's a membership-based program, but it's meant to be inclusive and not exclusive, as in I want members to take an intentional step forward into the community, recognizing and honoring and the sanctity and the safety that the group of the Medicine Way is trying to provide. So with that being said, taking donations just to help keep things going. I offer a lot of free ongoing events, such as ongoing bi-weekly talking circles, which I have one this Wednesday at the Pyle Adult Rec Center, and the topic is the body is the vessel. And then we've also been doing ongoing yoga classes and meditations on Sundays and Mondays at Sojo Healing House, and those have been free as well. So please, I invite you all to take advantage of these free offerings and resources along with Arizona Psychedelic Society. We just had our integration circle on Sunday, and we happened to weather the storm. It was really cool. We almost got rained out, but we just huddled up underneath the tree and made it work, just like family does. And then also we have a drumming circle this Thursday. I believe it's at Granada Park as well. 7 o'clock? 7 o'clock this Thursday. Drumming circle, very popular the last time, so please come bring a drum. You don't have to, there's extra drums. Just come hang out, stargaze if you want. I don't know, there's no clouds. What else feels really important? Yes, and actually tomorrow night we have our online Alliance Recovery group, which is for anybody who's working through any type of recovery, whether it's sugar addiction like myself, alcohol, substance, codependency. That's online tomorrow night and in person every third Sunday of the month. Gary?
Do you have t-shirts?
Good question, Gary. Yes, as a matter of fact, we have wonderful Medicine Way t-shirts today. Only $20, and again, it all goes back into the Medicine Way for t-shirts and your donations. Yeah, it helps to kind of just keep things running, and then if we sell these t-shirts, I'm super excited to order a different round of shirts. Let's see, maybe before I close things up, any Q&A? Any questions?
What was your takeaway as far as like conservation goes with that conference? Like what avenues were they trying to go down to protect, you know, like, I mean, peyote's I think the biggest one, but ayahuasca as well is, you know, running into a lot of problems with over harvesting. And did they have any kind of plan? What was their...
Man, what I didn't walk away with a strong sense of like, okay, this is how we're going to conserve the medicine. Good question. what I do know is these indigenous communities are very, very poor. And one of the ways that we can give back to these communities is actually by buying some of their arts and crafts. So if you ever come across anybody who's selling native like arts and crafts, especially if you go to festivals or you go to retreats locally or around the States, and the groups are selling like jewelry and things like that, try and support them, because that's a lot of that money is literally what goes back into the community to buy housing material and things like that for the community. So these are just like a few different ways in how we can kind of give back. But you know, this is where I was on this panel with amazing women, you know, and two of them are really doing work globally to hopefully slow down the consumption of this medicine. But I didn't walk away with any kind of like strong ideas of what that really looks like moving forward.
And with the Cora Institute, whatever you call it, is that like do you know anything about the cost of it, or like how do you get involved with it, or do you know
I don't know the cost of the services that they offer there. I do know that a lot of these programs offer scholarships. So even Chacruna, they offer scholarships to their conference. They offer scholarships for a lot of their webinars and things like that. So they're not, these institutions aren't really trying to make money, they're really trying to give back. So that's where just donations, random donations can be really helpful. With the Cora Center, I know that they also have a scholarship program as well, but I haven't gone deep enough into the programs to see what that really looks like.
We can go to the website.
You know, the Oregon facilities, they're all licensed, of course, by the state, and they're mandated to have, take people in on an as-need base as well as cost. The going cost right now for a private individual psilocybin therapeutic session is $3,500.
Yeah.
The group is like $2,000.
Oh, you get a little
Yes.
discount.
Yes.
Yeah, share the love.
Yes.
Okay, that's helpful. But that sounds pretty average. That sounds pretty much what the word on the street has been about that amount. Not to mention your travel time there, pre and post integration, so where you're gonna stay when you get there, food, you know, things like that. Yes.
In clinical trials, there's always like an exclusion process. The big ones that come up are age. There's usually a top age, like say 65, 70. And then kind of general physical health, and then previous psychiatric history. I'm curious, when you're in the natural medicine world, indigenous groups of people, as they approach the use, do they have anything remotely like that? Do they have any sort of cultural tradition, like older people maybe shouldn't do this, or your heart's weak, maybe you shouldn't do this, or someone in your family behaves in a strange way, maybe you shouldn't do this? Do they have anything like that?
Right, like a vetting system or an assessment. You know, I can't speak directly for like South and Central American indigenous practitioners, but I can speak as a Navajo woman. So when I go to my medicine people, yes, actually I sit with one medicine person and they do a diagnosis, and this is where coal reading, stargazing, crystal gazing come in, and the medicine man will take a look into my system, my world, my environment, and they will diagnose, like, this is what's going on, and these are the ceremonies that you need. You need the cactus way, the wind way, the snake way, and you gotta wrap it up with the blessing way, or some things like that. So I know, yes, actually there is an assessment process. So then there's the assessment, diagnosis, and then the treatment plan. So yes, I know that as a Navajo woman because I've experienced that with my own medicine people. So I can speak for that perspective. So I imagine that that's the case down there as well.
You talked about, like a lot of that Chacruna event that you went to was kind of about advocacy for different groups and traditional practices and that sort of thing. So you kind of see it as like what was talked about are some of the biggest challenges, and if there was solutions to overcoming them for the average, typically white Western individual person who's grown up outside of these indigenous traditions, to bridging that gap to using them in some sort of appropriate kind of way.
Yeah, it actually makes me think of trying to think of the curandera from Mexico, famous woman. Why can't I think of her name? Maria Sabina, yes. Her grandson was actually at this conference, and this is a little bit of what we talked about too. He talked about, right, like, it just really is boiling down to this overconsumption, and the things that we should be concerned of as Westerners is really this idea of going to these communities out of country, and there's this what's the word I want to use?
Exploitation.
I keep coming back to commodification, right? Where we've got these people hustling on the sides of the street. Oh, come do bufo, or come do psilocybin, or oh, we've got a real traditional person, right? And people are getting like this tourism, drug tourism potentially, is really affecting the more smaller communities outside of these more high-end tourist communities. So particularly, this gentleman was speaking like in his community, part of giving back is actually coming in and like cleaning up the trash in the community. And like, it's almost like, well, what do you even do with the plastics that are building up within these smaller indigenous communities? So we were just even talking about just even basic like human rights, even like access to clean water in these communities. How can we give back to those communities that are more isolated, where the medicine is actually really coming from? Just like recently sitting in a peyote ceremony, you know, it was beautiful that the practitioner, the medicine that he gets is from kind of a community that really irreverently works with the seasonal planting and harvesting of peyote throughout for the years, when it is and isn't okay to harvest the medicine, the songs, the prayers, and things that come along with that, slowing down our consumption with the medicine is really where the longevity of it is. And unfortunately, as Westerners, we're really in a pickle with this consumerism. It's not even a mindset. There's something in our spirit that we just can't seem to get enough of. We keep needing to feed on things outside of ourselves. And some of that is like plant medicine or other people's kind of culture ways of doing things. I don't know if that kind of answers your question, but it's really challenging because, I mean, I see it up on the Navajo reservation too, that the only way some of these families eat is by selling jewelry on the corner, or a fry bread stand, you know, at the end of the dirt road. Pulling over for some snow cones is actually helping that family to literally put food on the table. Mm-hmm. So it's just those small little ways that we don't even recognize kind of how impoverished these communities are, and the way that we just kind of keep taking and not giving back. And you're right, how can we keep thinking about how can we give back to these communities? It's not just about the money either, you know, how can we keep cleaning up the trash that we're bringing? So I don't know, these are really great questions. Yeah. Anybody else? Yeah. Okay. Any other announcements before we wrap it up? Okay, well, thank you everyone for your time and your presence and your energy. I really enjoyed speaking to you this evening, and if you have any more questions, particularly of anybody that I mentioned this evening, I'd love to share any of that information with you. Thank you all, have a great night.